I came to Procter as a chemical engineer in '92, formulating Tide, and actually Oxidol was my first brand I ever worked on. Tide Release Oxidol, basically the same brand. I worked there for several years. It was the '90s. People were leaving, going crazy. It was the GoGo.com days, and a guy named Craig Boehner, you all know, was a Tide brand manager, and he invited me to go work for him and get transferred to Tide, which I did. My first general manager was Mr. Bob Steele. I was a Cascade bullpen guy, and he was working on Fit. That's why I learned about Fit. I then transferred over to Tide, and then I came to Tide North America, Mr. Mango, and that's when I started learning about this brand and this access and for that story. So let's talk about the opportunity. So, like I said, if you get ex-Procter people, we'll talk profit for 40 hours. Really, this business is the magnet's opus by my last and hopefully last version doing this, where it's perfected in how to do this. So much has changed in the last 20 years. When John and I were doing Tide commercials, it was incredible to think the process of how to do that. When we would talk about editing a commercial, especially for younger people here, we're talking film and tape. Right? I mean, when we're talking about re-editing a commercial, it literally was taping together to watch, right? So if we said, hey, we want to change this one last scene, you had to cut it, re-edit it, ship it on a video cassette to the geo offices, put it in a machine. Things that would take nanoseconds now would take weeks. So the point of the story is, I run my business on my phone. The Chase app is incredible. We did that. I mean, I can run my entire operation with no people, very little infrastructure, because things have gotten so efficient in terms of productivity, which allows this kind of business to exist. The basic way to think about INSTAR brands is that there's 3 segments, okay? One is, maybe we should try that out. People's ears so I don't blow that up. So the first is the foundation of it is purpose-wise formula that I can't call it because the trademark is now with somebody else. But it's part of my message. I got all items of property and all the formulations property. But all the formulations that we launched into the marketplace, I got. So all the painting formulations were part of the INSTAR brands portfolio, which is one of the things that you're investing in. P&G spent $80 million. Only P&G can spend that kind of money. About $80 million developing and supporting the So we didn't pay some of the flowers. So that is part of the intellectual property of the portfolio. I'm just going to give you a very tough summary, and then we're going to kind of go a little bit around. The other soap product that I'm using else is the Oxidol brand itself. So, a little story on Oxidol. When we bought the Oxidol brand, this is what it looked like in the 1940s. It had basically been harvested, but it came up until 95. I'm going to give everything at $23 because inflation that has changed a lot of numbers. So every number I quote is going to be current dollars. In 95, Oxidol had $100 million in sales. But it quickly was plummeted because Procter is, what do they call that? Portfolio optimizations. They'll probably charge them too much for that term. So basically, to get rid of some of these brands that were no longer really out of place in the show. And Oxidol was the first laundry brand ever sold by P&G. And I love this brand ever since I first looked at it. I had to have it. So we launched this and did pretty well with it. But a new kind of Gen X, younger theme marketing, it did okay. We got about 30 million in sales, but it took a lot of marketing, a lot of effort, a lot of time. And we did this almost as a joke. But one of my favorite movies growing up is A Christmas Story. And if you watch The Christmas Story, and I didn't want to take the time to put all this up, Oxidol is prominently featured in that movie on the show. Right? It's behind Ralphie's head, passing around, for literally 10 minutes on the screen. So imagine what a brand is worth if I'm putting this brand in a movie that is going to be seen by 90% of American households every Christmas, 12 times a day for the next 50 years, right? I don't care what number you put on that. There's some number greater than 0 for that value. So I did 2001, Restoration Hardware was still a hardware company. Kenwood store was one of the first locations I got it. So I walked in there, who do you talk to? Who's your corporate office? We got Oxidol on the cover of Restoration Hardware before it became an $8,000 educator. So, and it's funny, if you Google Restoration Hardware Oxidol, the CEO of Restoration Hardware a couple of years ago literally said, we're no longer the Oxidol cover company. Like it's a disparaging term, right? So this brand has a lot of equity. The reason I'm telling this when we did this, people freaked out. I don't know if it's a residual, so much in marketing and sales is all about things you don't really consciously know why you like something. And I don't know if it's mom and apple pie things at Christmas for 30 years, but people just loved it. So if you notice this date, it's September 2001. My partner, we started this company, landed on Ronald Reagan Airport on the morning of September 11th, 2001. So lots of all, and 9/11 and the company, there's a lot of emotion with this brand. We thought it was bad for hours because he landed on the airport. So there's so much equity tied up in this that I always wanted to do this. So the brand had changed hands and been passed out and was basically a brand. They just got rid of it and didn't think that. So we have now reacquired the brand. It's now part of INSTAR Brands. And I'm pleased to announce the new version of Oxford. It is now going to be in a powdered pod form. This is an 80-count Tide equivalent box. Obviously, we're going to have this is just a prototype box. And this is an 80-count box of little pods. Okay? Now, I'm so glad these guys are not one. Let's say what? Does it have green crystals? Mr. He knows what he's talking about. Green crystals and oxidol were the actual knowledge technology that originally was in for activated bleaching. It doesn't have the crystals. And the reason why it doesn't, this is exactly perfect setup. Thank you. So, if you noticed earlier, they said Procter focuses on the consumer, right? And why wouldn't they? Because Procter has enough cash and power that their message to consumers is all they have to worry about. And I don't know if this has changed a lot since retail. The retail is really a secondary. I mean, yeah, the CBD, I don't know what they call it. I guess after CBD came out, they couldn't call it CBD anymore. Because they customer business development, so they come up with a different name. But what do they call sales now? There's a even though the third term sales is wild. It's retros. Sales. Yeah, sales. Oh, wow. What a concept. Usually has to change the name for everything, right? You always have to have a unique name for everything. So at the time when I was running Tide Cascade, the retailer itself was really never part of the equation. Yeah, I mean, they would bitch and complain about promotion plans and you got to do something for Walmart, but it was never like the primary focus. The consumer was always the primary focus. When you're small and you're outside of Procter, the way you win is by starting with the retailer. Now, of course, you have to have the consumer in mind. You can't have a product that consumers don't want to buy. A retailer is not going to stock something that a consumer doesn't want to buy. But you start at the retailer, and here's why. And this is what I really would honestly like to start with this. I don't know fans how much they are truly hated by the retailers. Like visceral hatred, which I had no clue about. When I started working with some of the bigger guys, and you start really getting to know them and really started to talk to them, they really, really do not like people. And the reason why is great people, some of the best, most high integrity people of all time. Procter is always right. Now, because they usually are. But when they come, they usually come with a message of, this is what you're doing wrong. Why don't you live with this? And there's this problem all the time. And retailers are just people, right? That's all they are. It's just normal people. Imagine if every single time, someone in your office, they say, why aren't you doing it? You're still not doing it wrong. It's just, they constantly feel like, we're going to tell you what to do. And because of that, what that means is, I love Procter. I keep working there. I love my experience there. I love every minute of it. But I was shocked. I started going to sales meetings and said, I'm an ex-Procter guy. And I literally, one of the first meetings I went to, I won't mention the retailer, I went, I'm an ex-Procter guy. And the guy really listened. I hate those sons of bitches. And the reason again is that it's nothing about personality. It's who is in control. Is it Walmart or Procter? Is it Grover or Procter? And that natural tension really causes a lot of strife. So the reason I'm talking about this is the long building for this. There are many retailers who are looking for sustainable packaging and execution. There was a very, very, very large retailer who asked me many years ago, please show me a long shirt without any plastic, without any trays, without any shipping containers. I spend, well, I don't believe this is getting away. They spend $30 million a year cleaning up Procter's trash in their stores. You add up everybody's salary, all the freight, ship the corn out of the stores. And if you look at a Tide Pod execution, it's a plastic bowl, right? So you have to have a tray that the plastic bowl sits in, then you have to put I'm like for a big, call it a club store type execution, right? In terms of big tile displays. Well, as this consumer sells off of that tray, they have to give away the corn. And then they have to ship it through a recycler. So, things that you don't really think about is because there are massive amounts of corn that they're just throwing away. So this retailer said, can you please show me a retail execution where there's no plastic, there's no waste, and we can recycle everything? Well, I finally have found out a way to do that. This also will stack. This will stack on a pallet, literally no trays, and it's been built strong enough to withstand it. That's why I had to test it like this. So what does that mean? This is a long bullet for a payoff. The way your small is, so you go to this and say, that concept you always wanted to show that projects are impossible, this is laundry is sold without plastic trays. Show them it's possible. I'll just show them this. Show the Proctor you can ship a laundry detergent without plastic, without pouring. Yeah, that's not Tide, it's oxidol. Don't you think you should send them a message that possible? That will trigger things because now you're playing. Consumers still going to have to like it. It's still going to have to be a great value. It's still going to have to be a great execution. Involving the trade at a very strategic level is the only way I found to be able to get to that higher level possibility. And really what you're doing is you're just giving the retailer what he wants, not the consumer. Obviously the consumer is the end goal, but it's the retailer, not the consumer.
So you said something really interesting that consumers would like earlier. What was that?
No, what's that?
I said, what did you say to me earlier?
About consumers?
Yeah.
I talked a lot today, but about this?
You showed me the Tide Pod, you showed me that.
Oh, yeah. Everything that you like I said earlier, please remind me what I said earlier, okay? All right, so this is our financial project. This is the most sophisticated laundry detergent ever invented. I'm not even going to hint that I can come up with something that's good. This is the space shuttle. It's the Elon Musk rocket of the time. So basically, what this is modified enzymes that will eat different kind of proteins or amylases and other things that a normal enzyme creates the product.
Okay, what he means by that is it cut the fibrils off the cotton when they start to break, because the fibrils are what make your clothes look like they're fading, right? Because the dye only is on the outside of the cotton, the inside is still white. So when the little fibers start to break off, the white comes to the surface, covers up the color, and they look like they're fading. A genetically developed enzyme that it the cotton.
Yeah.
So that the color, the white goes into the jogger and into your vent, and you're left with only the color.
Well,
that's what he meant.
I'm glad to know that we can. But also, I didn't realize that we could talk about terrorism now without getting fired. Because that was actually very secret. We would have been crucified 20 years ago. Some great secret 20 years ago. So I'm glad we can talk about freedom. That's good. So you have to go writers in this. Now that we talk freely here, there are 50 components that Proctor puts in there. When these materials absorb light, they emit certain wavelengths out of the material at different spectrums, okay? Different frame. It's Einstein wavelength. All right. Anyway, the point is, they put in optical brighteners that absorb light and send ultraviolet light to make the clothes look whiter. If you ever get a black light in your club, you see all little spots all over your clothes, and you're like, where all these spots come from? It's the optical brighteners that are in there to allow the clothes to look whiter, even though they aren't. So there's all these things in here that Procter & Gamble spent a lot of money in my salary, my benefits, helping to design. Here's the bottom line is 90% of the time it's the money. When we go home tonight, unless Matt gets really violent, start throwing food everywhere, none of us are going to have the same, right? None of us are going to have really dirty clothes. 90% of the stuff in this thing is a complete waste of money. You don't need this. And now that we can really talk freely, I'm going to talk about this story. So my job, when I was first brought in at the top, When I first got the Tide, was to come up with the Tide basic formula. I love Procter & Gamble. I love your opinion on this too. When they launched Tide Basic, I thought that was the biggest strategic mistake Procter & Gamble, right? Yes, I agree. We debated this with our GM, now running with Disney, and we would constantly have these debates, and she would, and Susan White basically say, so do you want Tide Crack or Tide Good? Is Tide Crack good? No. He's like, what do I need Tide Good? Tide Crack is good enough. It's not on the label. And that's the dilemma. Well, this is Tide Basic. It doesn't clean my clothes. Oh no, that cleans it. Okay, then why am I buying Tide regular? It doesn't make any sense. My job, but Procter knew at the time they needed a low-cost detergent. So I launched a low-cost and tested it against Tide, and I put sand in a box with salt. But I put in a really good perfume. I put in stuff, this is when I was on IB. I put stuff in a box that you literally could not sell as a detergent because it doesn't clean you. It was nothing. It was full. In the perfume department, I said, you know that perfume that Procter won't let you sell because it's so expensive and you love it? They would, yes, I do love that. Yes. Well, yeah, okay. Put that on the phone. So basically, it was nothing but sand and rich perfume. It tested equal to time. It tested equal time. Perfume salt tested equal time. I just want to make sure you have such. You know why? They had green speckles, Rob. Green speckles and a good perfume tested equal to time. All right? What that told me was 90% of this is a complete waste of money. Because the clothes aren't dirty. If they smell fresh, that's all I noticed. So I was told never to tell you that, so I wasn't pretty excited. So reason why I bring this up, not only is this more natural, not only is this safer. Again, I don't have kids at Procter. I love Procter. One of my first jobs at Procter was to get the consumer complaints. And I remember getting one saying, all my hair, my dog fell out when I washed it in time. Like, what? And I went to my boss saying, how's this? Like, well, I averaged it. And it's not maybe all the hair off the dog in the first. So this is like a very safer version of this. Okay? So there's no enzymes, there's no brightener, it's just, that's all it is. It's just soap. And because of that, it's half the price of this. So, in the end, what I'm going to do is, a very big box retail would say, what if we showed Procter an execution that's half the cost of Tide, that's better for the environment, that has none of this waste, and that's tested. And the best thing about when you test these set of retailers is their test might be $3 million, right? It might be like, let's just test it, here's $1 million. So that is a very long story of how I got my soap and produce wash business back. Now, there's two other things I want to talk about, and I really think that instead of just going on, so I'm going to talk about I can't find it. I'm going to just tell you what my business segments are in kind of a very big level, and then ask questions. I don't know. I'll start talking about even wavelength stuff that you guys don't care about. So I'd rather answer questions that you guys care about. So the second business that I want to talk about is Melaleuca, because I can't start. I'm an engineer, so I can spell it. This is something that's in our materials, and something that I haven't really talked a lot about because it's kind of complicated. And the first video I did in the department, we were kind of in a very big picture to talk about stuff, and I didn't really get on the big picture. This, to me, is why this has a huge equity return. And again, you guys are better to tell me this tonight. Procter & Gamble and every company in the world is freaked out about preservatives right now. The preservatives and all Procter products and all the cosmetics are being and they don't really have a good replacement. And again, I'm not in the target market, but I guess preservative-free makeup is a huge thing. It's like a big thing. Yeah, I'm not the target market, but I understand that's a huge thing. As I did research on this, the way they're selling preservative-free makeup right now is that, it's preservative-free, but you got to use it in humans. So it doesn't have any preservatives in it, right? So it literally is preservative-free makeup that means. I had no idea the need for this product. Very, very large first. I engineered a lot of people, know a lot of people, 30 years of experience. I have friends in Brazil who own a Melaleuca orchard, plantation, I don't know what word it is, and have developed a natural product that kills bacteria and germs with plant oils. Nothing more, nothing else. I didn't believe it because it's so hard to do. There's only 3 things in the world that kill germs. And if you hear anything else until this, don't mind. Bleach, silver, ozone, surfactants, You're about like, oh, it's a special plant extract. Think of it. None of them. This perks. And again, we're talking so freely, people will talk so freely. There was a very large civil products company in Cincinnati who was actually testing this and has actually shown them. So once I got confirmation that the very large civil products company in Cincinnati was able to confirm that this does work, we started working with some global, I should mention their names, some global supply chemical companies. And this is where we, you know, who has. When Procter calls me and says, hey, can we have a meeting in Spain? Everyone in the world goes, yeah, sure, we'll do that. Now, I call and say the meeting's being phone-based, right? There is a group, the company in Europe right now, who's talking to a business partner, this last month, about global expansion of this. Because they sell preservative type technology. This will allow every makeup and detergent in the world to put on their label preservative free. Because this formula acts as a self-preservation formula. And I have to be a little geeky, you want to understand. There is no requirement by law that you have to put preservatives in the formula, right? Orange juice doesn't have a preservative because it's self-preservative. It's so acidic that there's no need to add a preservative. The big formulas, the purpose wash formulas, don't have a preservative in them either because they're self-preservative. The melaleuca oil has a natural like tea tree scent to it. Have you ever heard of tea tree oil? Yes. If you it self-preserves the formula. That's very important because it requires no EPA registration. You're not putting in a preservative, you're putting in a perfume that then self-preserves the formula. The bottom line is the margin of this is outrageous, and the company's already being sold with a distribution license. The company already tested it, they already passed, they're looking for maybe a potential local expansion. Nothing been signed, I'm not trying to overstate this, but I'm telling you that this thing, I've never seen a reaction to this of anything I'm working on. When you have a big, large global company begging for sample studies, not paying them anything, you know you have some. Because this is a huge, huge need. So this is all these things for why this investment pays you back your 10% interest, you get your money back. This is right on the upside. This thing could be huge. But this is the upside. The last part of the business is the most fun part of the business, and that's what we're going to talk a lot about, which is distribution. So when I got to Miami, I met my friend Edson 10 years ago in Brazil. By the way, if you haven't gotten some free candy, there you got some candy. Did you get some candy? Well, then you better get some. There you go. So when I got to Miami, I didn't realize that there are dozens, hundreds of companies in Miami desperate for products in the United States. That makes sense, right? Everyone wants to sell in the city. What I didn't realize is that did I have money to sit down? It's not money anymore. The investment in the green card program. Somebody says they know it. Family, you see money. If you invest $500,000 into the country, you will be issued a green card, or at least halfway. Nobody really knows about that, do they? I tell you who does know about that. Rich families in South America. Every rich family, and I did that one before. In America, our businesses are owned by corporations. S. Johnson is probably the closest Latin-style business in the United States. What I mean by that is these companies in Latin America are owned by families. Yeah, they're corporations, but they're family-owned businesses. Ginormous, huge pocket-sized companies, but they are family-owned businesses. Okay, so families say, "I have all this money, and I want my children to be citizens." So they are sending container loads of product. But there are 2 container loads of the locals in the way. 3 container loads of this candy, and 2 in Brazil, sitting gathering dust in Miami. What company would ship 3, when I say 40-foot containers, you see the shipping containers, Crossroads Church, I'm using on this to shipping material. 3 of them sitting in Miami with no plans for sale because they have to justify their investment for their income. Well, now they got $500,000 with their income, where they're going to sell it. And that's when it was like this dream scenario. I didn't even know this opportunity existed, where there's all these Latin American minority women-owned businesses that have no idea of U.S. retail trade. They're scared to death of it. I know Walmart scares the hell out of them. I'm great. I love that kind of stuff. And they suddenly found me, and it was just word of mouth, and I was just being thrown out to these. I started having to turn people away because all my business model was really simple. I don't want equity in the company. I don't want any ownership. I just want to be the vendor of it. And the reason why that works is that, you don't need contracts to have a long-term relationship. If I'm the vendor of this company nuts here, which is this juice company, if for whatever reason, sideways to us, he would have to change vendors, which you can do, but that is a huge, huge deal. When you change the vendor codes on a brand, a Costco or Target or something like that, that's a huge deal. So it kind of forms this like long-term relationship that, hey, as long as we're working together, things should be working out well. And the reason why this business model works well is that, that's obviously what we were saying earlier about selling, exit. At some point, Edson's going to want to sell his juice. And everybody says, why would you want this business model? If you create $1 billion business, that's a piece of that. 2 reasons. One, it's paperwork and time and crap that just slows down everything. Oh, what's your share? It's just paperwork and crap. If he's selling, well, I don't want to say billion, if he's selling $100 million a year, by definition, that means $10 million a year revenue to me. My margin for all my distribution deals is very simple. It's not a negotiation. I don't care what your cost is. Whatever your cost is, I add 10% on top. Again, it's no negotiation. That means $10. It's 10 or 1. It's, and whatever it is, it's just 10% added on. So when he exits, if he's selling $100 million a year, that's $10 million revenue by definition that this company is receiving. I'm not that greedy. I don't think I sold $1 million. I didn't that much money. I own this company. How much money do you get? So, that kind of revenue, push. Because of that, people are just throwing things like crazy. Let me show you an example. I mean, hopefully you can see Edson. Just for good use of time, make sure you hear Edson's story. We'll talk a little bit about it tonight, but I want to talk about some other things besides Edson's story, and I want to talk about two different stories we're talking about. So, this woman in Cincinnati, this is actually the Cincinnati business. She's the only business I found in Cincinnati before I moved to Miami, before I started working with them. And I think some people are actually buying it, right on Amazon. This woman has 15,000 5-star reviews. It's single, here, I'll pass it around. It's single, at home, basic home dog treats for your dogs. If you haven't noticed already, women don't bake for kids anymore, they bake for their dogs. I mean, it's like a huge thing. Kroger is not putting in dog baking sections. All right, so like if you see, if you walk in a Kroger and look at the stores, they're taking out products and putting in dog treats at Kroger, right? This is a huge phenomenon that I think are just now beginning to understand. So she had a on this, right? Very light, very easy to sell, very easy to ship. And she came to me and said, please help me. How do I sell this in retail? She actually sold this at Kroger before, had the classic value links at Kroger where you get a $100,000 order and then you get paid with $1. You ever been in a small business that is Kroger standard and then you say, where's my money? They go, I want to pay you, better talk to accounting. No, I want to pay you. I want to pay you so bad, you got to talk to accounting. And then after 2 years, you might get 10% of it, right? So this is the things that I'm getting into. And she got screwed by that and she wanted my help. So I worked with her to create the big box version of her product. Multiple uses, the same mold, but in a package that the big guys like. So for anybody, I'm not a consultant. I said, we will create this together to launch this in the retail. This went to the Global Pet Expo in Orlando and won the best dog item of the year, the whole show. Well, I was going to mention every big name you can think of in plug and mass grocery has pending orders for that for Christmas. There's actually a very big thing about using that as a flyer for the Black Friday flyer. I mean, isn't that like the ultimate Black Friday gift for like your kids that take it home? So this is why I have value for this company. Not only did this woman then start getting introduced to the big guys in the world, they get orders very, very quickly. She made the biggest mistake as a small entrepreneur. What is it? Take this around. What is the worst thing you could say to a Walmart or a Costco or a Kroger? That's interesting. That kind of customer is not true. And they say, hey, I'm interested in this. What is the worst thing you can say? I'll give as much as you want. Just give me as much as you want. Please give me all the orders you want. And literally, I had to stop people and say that. No idea what you're saying. That woman said that to a retailer. Okay, like 20 truckloads in a couple of weeks. I was like, what? I'm not ready here. Like they have no clue the kind of volumes that we're talking about. So my job and agent, for lack of a better word, is to help these small businesses understand the size and scale of what they're about to experience and help them grow and scale businesses, which I've been doing for 30 years. And that's really where I don't sign any contracts. People are literally because of my business model. And then the last thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to talk about Edson's company. I just came back from the Fancy Food Show in New York. I get a here in business, you know what that is. It's an imported business where it's all exotic food from around the world. This is a North African, Tunisian couscous and pasta company. They sell 40 container loads a day in North Africa. A huge company. The sales in the United States right now are $500,000 just on grounding. They don't even sell in the United States. Just based on distributor list, it's $500,000 in sales. So I was able to, this business is huge, but they have no partnership in the United States. I gave them my business model, and they gave me they literally 2 days ago said, "You have my entire business." So I started walking the floor, and I'm like, no, go out there, no, oh, that's not it. And within a couple hours, he had his entire launch. Listen, I don't know what the sales is. He sells 40 container loads a day of this, and this is, acoustics, right? Another item that people know of, they've heard about it before, but and just to show you the numbers of what this can do, this can get delivered into the United States for like $1. And this retails for like $4 on the shelf. I don't need a 75 margin. So basically, this has another great potential for a great value. That these retailers are constantly trying new things, and we can make it easy and simple for them to just throw it on the floor and try it. And this business is already now beginning to grow much faster than our capital can allow, because there's been so many people coming to us. So the network that's this company. And I saw the bottle around here. Yeah. So when Edison launched this product in Brazil, and again, I'm just trying to show you an example. Last example, I'll try to go to the question. When Edison launched this product in Brazil, he grew at 20 million because he knew the Brazilian market. Because Brazilian lived very full life. In Brazil, the way you launch this product is you launch it in dietitian stores, not grocery stores. They don't have these here in the United States. Our healthcare system is so overly regulated. In Brazil, you can go to a dietitian for, guess what? Healthy eating, healthy living, where you don't need a doctor prescription. What a concept, right? But it's like you don't need a prescription for everything in life, right? So in Brazil, people say, hey, I'm looking for something to boost my immune system. Is there something I can do naturally, holistically? The concepts that are common around the world that are foreign in the United States. He developed a juice that actually boosts your immune system with a natural yeast called beta-glucan, right? You drink this, it boosts your immune system like a COVID shot. But it's unnatural and a great tasting juice. Instead of injecting yourself with drugs all the time, what if we drank and ate stuff that actually naturally heals our body? Right? Again, for so many people, this is obvious, but for American audiences, it's not the way we think. So the reason why I tell the story is that Edson launched the product in the United States like he wouldn't. Just like if all of us were going to launch some product in Brazil, we would launch it the American, right? So Edson launched a dietitian-focused product, very health, very medicine, and tried to sell it in retail. And I, immediately said, Edson, this is the perfect execution for our food service clients. Marvin can sell it here in a store like this, but you need a retail execution with much better graphics, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're about to launch that within the last hour. So this is, I'm not a brand agency. I didn't charge them outward fees. I was just partner to get them into where the path needed to go to get the brand. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He just doesn't know a U.S. audience and a U.S. retailer audience what they're doing. And that's, again, that's a say what you want. I did that for a contract. He just called me up one day. Just do it. Just go on, just take it. Just do it. And that's what was happening, because people were just, they realized what I could do sales-wise, and then they could see the results, and it just started to be fun. So that's really what INSTAR brand is all about. I'm excited and very honored that you're all here. I've seen some friends I haven't seen in years, and I'm very honored that even if you guys don't want to invest in reading this, you're here on all. So I'm really glad to hear it.